Hello, hello. This is Three Things You Need to Know. Today, we're going to talk about the three things you need to know about buying a owner-occupied multi-unit. My name is Shelley Zavitz. I'm a licensed realtor in Portland, Oregon for Dwell Realty, and I'm here with Tammy Wittren of Guild Mortgage. Good morning and welcome again.
Good morning, my friend.
All
Great to see
right.
you.
So let's dive into the idea of buying a property that more than one person or family could live in. Let's start with, what does multi-unit mean as it relates to residential sales?
Perfect. So in the lending world, Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, conventional FHA, VA, jumbo lending, we will lend on a one-unit property. That's your single family, a duplex, 2 units, dos,
Dos.
um, and then 3 units, okay, would be a triplex, and 4 units, a fourplex. Now, in mortgage lending, residential real estate lending, lenders do not go above 4 units. Anything above 4 units, 5+ becomes commercial.
All right. So now that we know what actually multifamily means, how is it different than buying a single family property when it
Yeah.
comes to, let's talk about the lending and then we'll talk about showings. How's that?
Perfect.
Okay.
Shelley, the hard part is it would be fantastic for everyone to buy a multifamily, right? We
Mhm.
actually can do increased loan amounts once you buy a duplex, a fourplex, a triplex, a fourplex. The loan amount increases with residential mortgage lending. Here's the issue: the down payment increases. For lenders, anytime there is a renter involved, a party that is not under your direct control, then we want to see more down payment and we have stronger, stricter qualifying requirements. Okay. So,
Hmm.
duplex in this world on a conforming loan, you need at least 15% down and a
Okay.
little bit for cash reserves. Once you go triplex or fourplex, then you need 25% down. So it becomes more complicated. I'm going to beg you guys, if you're considering this and this is something you want to do, you really need to work backwards with your lender. The
Okay.
COVID overlays in qualifying clients right now, we can only give you credit for the rental income against the new payment. So in the old days, you could use that income and kind of qualify for it. Those days are off the table. If anyone has that information, their realtor's stuck in their head.
Can I interrupt you for a
Yeah.
second? Did you just say that when you're qualifying, you're saying that if there's a renter in the property, that at some point someone said you can use that to qualify, and you're saying no, right?
No, I'm saying we can use that rental income, okay,
Mhm.
when you buy a duplex, triplex, or fourplex, but that income coming in can only offset the payment, the mortgage payment for
Ah,
that property. It cannot be used for additional income. In the old days, you might buy a fourplex and those rents were high enough that the property would qualify for itself, plus you would have a little extra income instead. And those days are over.
I
That used to
see.
be kind of a sneaky back end way to
Mhm.
get people to qualify if they didn't have lots of income. So buying a non-owner property is a big deal because you're not just managing your own household, you
That's
manage
right.
another one. And in steps, managing a rental property. It's so different from shopping for that property to managing tenants and all of that. Can you start with just really showing a duplex, triplex, or fourplex?
Right. Well, one of the things that a buyer should expect is you might not see both sides. So if we're looking at a duplex, let's say, there might be one that's vacant that you can go in and get a sense of what that unit looks like. But to have the one that's occupied by a tenant, to view that before you make an offer is probably 50-50. And the reason is because they only want really serious buyers and they don't want to interrupt the tenant consistently, right? Because I mean, that's just not fair anyway. So you could expect that you might have to put in an offer that is of a certain price with a contingency that says that you would view that property within, or the other side of that property within 24 or 48 hours.
Yeah.
So some people are not comfortable with that and it just doesn't make them feel good. If that is something you're not interested in, it's going to make you it's going to make it a little bit harder for you to buy a duplex. I'm not deterring anybody from buying multi-unit. I'm just saying that before you decide that this is your avenue, let's really sit down and talk about the numbers. Let's talk about the way that we'll get into the property and get you out of it, especially now that you're buying an investment, right? You're going to live in one side, but you're going to rent the other. You need an exit strategy. Every single investment that anyone ever does, in my opinion, you should know how you're going to get in and how you're going to get out, even if it's 10 years down the road.
Yeah.
So we really need to sit down and go through all of that. And it depends on how handy you are, but I strongly suggest a property management group. You know, it's 8%, 10%. That's great if you don't have to answer a phone call in the middle of the night of the toilet doesn't work, you know?
Yeah. So one more question, Shell, just
Tell
about
me.
real estate. So we have a transaction also where the tenant, the home buyer is buying a condo and it happens to have a tenant in it.
That's right.
Talk a little bit about that.
Very complicated
extra overlay.
It's a very complicated deal so far. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we went under contract in December. We went in December. And once we got through some contingencies, then we were going to deliver the 90-day notice to the tenants because my client would like to live there. And just that is a very complicated step-by-step situation where we need to make sure that we communicate well with the tenant, and then also that the seller is able to, I mean, she still has to hold the property for 90 days after we get through it was 3 weeks of contingency. So
yeah,
it's a longer process. So even if you think, okay, my exit strategy is I'm going to sell in 10 years, I'm going to do this and this and this. Well, I mean, it might take you longer than the normal 35 to 45 days to close a house, right? It could take months. And this one, it will take months.
Yeah.
But we're doing it the right way. So
of investment property. That's, really the fundamental, most important thing is it's not the same as a single family residence. The laws are there to protect the tenants, and that changes with every state. So seek wise counsel.
Absolutely. I agree. Tammy, thank you for coming. We always learn something new.
Awesome to see you, babe. Thank you.
See ya.